How's it going, Critter Family? Hope you all are doing well. Today we are going over a video by Zach George. Train your dog to heel in 1 day. No leash required. So this really piqued my interest. I want to see exactly how he teaches heel, especially not using a leash, not relying on a leash. Since we know he's a positive reinforcement trainer, he doesn't use pops or certain collars, or he doesn't jerk on dogs or use corrections or anything like that. I thought this would be really interesting to watch because I myself, if you don't know, for anybody who doesn't know, any new viewers, I'm a positive reinforcement trainer myself, and I don't use any types of corrections. I don't say no. I don't use prong collars, choke collars, shock collars, or anything like that. I use harnesses on dogs and regular flat buckle collars and a nice 6-foot leash. So we'll see how Zach does it. I thought this would be really interesting. Let's just get started.
A practical heel really is about teamwork and communication. The goal is keeping your dog safe, comfortable, and confident, especially in more challenging environments.
Think of it as an approach to use when you're in really busy areas or if you're passing some tricky spots. I've used it on really steep mountainsides.
So I like what I see here, and what I see here is Wallace is walking by. I think I called him Walter in the first video I did, so sorry, Wallace. I see him walking by his side. Zach's watching the dog just as much as the dog will do check-ins with Zach. He has a slightly shorter leash here, but it's not tight. It's not a death grip. He's not popping. He doesn't have his hand behind him, so he's not pulling the dog back and holding the dog back, and he's not constantly popping the dog. And he's just holding the leash with his other hand. So he has two hands on his leash. That's how I train a lot. I use my other hand. I will slide my hand up and down the leash, for a feel and to loosen the leash and take the grip in and let the grip out, or let the leash in and out. But I do like how they're walking nicely.
I've done it
and if I were to be walking Wallace like this, and say Wallace were to get a little bit ahead, then I would use this hand just to apply a finger's worth of pressure and just remind the dog, hey, slow down a little bit. And this leash would be attached to a harness. So I would be just pulling back on the harness ever so slightly once the dog learns to give into pressure, once the dog learns how to walk on a loose leash like that, and then, we move into heel like that. So this would be more of a proofed heel, and if I needed a reminder, then I could just remind them, hey, slow down a little bit by using this hand, using the finger power to just press on the leash a little bit to get him to respond to that and slow down a little bit.
Situations, you'll be amazed at the different times that the need for heel arises throughout your dog's life. But it's not something you want to use all of the time because
exactly.
It's a bit unnatural for a dog to do it for prolonged periods. A traditional heel is on the left side, but these days it makes a lot more sense to teach an ambidextrous heel. I find
Absolutely.
that I default to a right heel when I need to use it. When I'm on pedestrian paths, I'm often walking on the right side. So being a barrier between my dog and other people and animals and other situations on the other side makes more sense for me. So there's a couple of
And Wallace is he's healing, but he's not doing the perfect heel, which is exactly what I love about Zach George and I love about this whole situation, is because I don't care about a perfect affoose. I don't care about this perfect unnatural. The dog is constantly staring at me. They're prancing along with my feet. Their shoulder is right here. Their head is straight up unnaturally for so long, and they're constantly in a heel. Most trainers, I should say, will often say that, you only teach the dog to heel. They don't teach the dog loose leash walking. When they teach quote unquote loose leash walking, they're really teaching heel. They're teaching heel that they say your dog can have a loop in their leash like this as long as they're by your side. I think it's way, way, way overdone. It's too controlling that every person has to have their dog at a heel at all times. And then they say otherwise your dog is out of control. That's just baloney. I want my dog, I don't care if my dog is ahead of me or behind me a little bit or on the side of me, as long as they're not pulling me down or tripping me up. And there's times when I do want them to be in a heel, and we'll do that for short periods of time. I'm not going to go for a 2-mile walk and my dog is only going to be in the heel position, because the heel does not allow for sniffs. The heel doesn't allow for, necessarily potty breaks. The heel doesn't allow for a dog to be a dog.
That I try and experiment.
But can it be useful? Absolutely.
With each dog to get them to come over here to my right side. We've been casually working on luring him into position next to me. That's not exactly the heel position. How am I going to get from that to here facing you? Do some experimenting to see how you can kind of get your dog to spin into place by luring them and get their neck to align with your leg. So, see, there it is. Yes, it's not.
So what I like to do is I like to work, this is beautiful scenery, by the way, but I like to work with a dog where there's some kind of a wall or a chair or something on the other side of me. So we have, say, a wall, and then the dog, and then myself. And that allows them to go behind me, turn around, and come back into position, a little bit more easily. It makes it easier for them to learn how to come into position. Versus having to lure them, to the side like this. That's just how I teach it. I taught it differently with my Shiba, where I taught him to go from in front of me, around behind me, and into position. And I called that word side. And then I would say heel as we would walk. But I think now I have changed it so that way if I have a leash, I'm not going to have my dog go behind me and I have to like wrap my leash around behind me and grab it from the other hand. I want my dog to be able to, if they're in front of me, go spin into heel here, or go over here and spin into heel on this side. So my leash is not going behind me.
Not bad. I'm going to reward it because it's an effort. And you can see he's looking at this dog here. So I'm going to be understanding of that. Let him So, see, there it is. Yes, it's not bad. I'm going to reward it because it's an effort. And you can see he's looking at this dog here. So I'm going to be understanding of that. Let him take it in.
Good.
Wallace has
Excellent.
a habit of sitting a lot because that's been heavily reinforced for him. I'm going to try and encourage him to remain standing.
I appreciate that he's allowing him to look at this other dog. If he were a reactive dog, I would be rewarding for this behavior, for just sitting and looking. If he's not a reactive dog, then I would just sit here and let him look at this as they move away. The distraction moves away, and then we go back to training. Because we are training a new behavior in a distracting area, I want to allow him to take in the distractions. Firstly, though, I would be working in the house. And then after the house, you work in mildly distracting areas, such as this. A mildly distracting area can be just being out in nature like this. Nature itself can be distracting. And then, let alone you have a person and a dog running over here, that can be more distracting as well. So, it's good to give your dog time to just, decompress and take in the world and let them be distracted if they need to be distracted, and then they go back to focusing on you.
While we're doing a heel, unless I ask for a sit. If you want to see how we taught him stand, check the description. Okay. Yes. I'm going to try and mark him when he's standing. Attention. Yes. There we go. I tried to save that butt from sitting there. Yes. I love the stand stay here. Here. Yes. Not a perfect heel, but getting there.
So he might do that to where he has him spin and then backs up.
And so as the dog is approaching,
or maybe not,
cheat a step forward there to make it a little bit easier for them to line up and help them understand what we're going for here. We are dealing with distractions. Here, okay, watch this. Yes! Did you see that? There's something about that momentum.
Using momentum to guide your dog into position really leverages their natural movements, which can make it easier for them to learn and replicate these in the future.
Okay. Want to release him there because that was a good success. And when I'm done doing heel, I'm going to clearly release him. I'll choose to say okay, but use whatever words you want. And that lets him know that he can go back to walking normally. Yes. So I like that he's standing in front of me. Now the idea is to see if we can get him to spin around. Here, I'm going to move it a little bit with him. Yes. Yeah, the movement really does seem to help with him.
And with me, I don't have a problem with my cue being that I back up a couple of steps to get him to move forward. I don't have a problem with him either, just being standing stationary while he has the dog turn into heel. But for me, I think I would probably start by moving a couple of steps back to get that forward momentum, and then do the little spin part where he spins into heel.
Kind of walking back. This is what I mean. Every dog is different.
Where you deliver the reward matters more than you might think. Rewarding at the correct spot is going to encourage your dog to naturally maintain that ideal heel position.
See that? Right at the seam of my pants there. Yes, I like how he's standing. Yes. Did you see what happened? I took a step forward. Didn't release him.
Lets him get distracted.
Some people would correct this. I don't believe in doing that.
Good, excellent.
Him observe these things. And when he gives me his attention voluntarily, or I inspire him to give me his attention, then we can resume.
Yeah, here I might try practicing calling him back. Or if I'm going to be working on heel, then I probably wouldn't work at a time like this when there's so many dogs out. just because I really want to have his focus, and I can proof him when he really understands the behavior, when we've been working in an area that's like this, but not as distracting. Then I can start proofing him for being able to do the practicing the behavior when there are a few more distractions out.
Opt out as well. Or else you risk really creating unnecessary frustration, which will hold you back. Yes.
Allowing your dog to
Good,
opt out is going
excellent.
to help you build trust and keep your training sessions positive. Dogs who are given autonomy like this and
Good.
rewarded for choosing to re-engage with you.
And I see what he means by not having a leash, because a leash is just there for Wallace to be able to work outside and not run away. So I like that he does not rely on using the leash to pull the dog back and yank the dog and pop the dog and all of that. So this is where he talks about like no leash required, because the leash is just there to keep him in this vicinity. Just like if he were inside, I'm sure he wouldn't have a leash on him. And that's how I taught Adonis.
They're going to be more focused. They're going to be more motivated and cooperative in the long run.
As long as he's remaining in that position, whether still or moving, at first, I'm going to let him know I love that frequently. I'm not asking for this extended heel at this point. Huh, what do you think he's saying? Look, your learner or your dog determines what's reinforcing. When a dog does this during the middle of a heel session, I'm not going to ignore that and say continue taking treats. I'm going to use this. So let's go, buddy. I mean, look at the instant change in his body language as well. He likes the food, but do you see he's a little more eager right now?
So this is a great chance to show you how things look a little
Good.
different.
So he's changing up the reinforcer for the dog. The dog decides what is reinforcing for them. In this case, it's a Frisbee. So the dog chose from the treats because today they're in a little bit more of a distracting area. He says this Frisbee seems a little bit more fun than taking treats.
Switch up to rewarding with
Yes.
play.
That's genius that
gotta be a
Zach
little
will
quicker.
notice that.
This kind of eagerness is exactly what you want to see when you're working with your dog. Just take a minute to work through that initial awkwardness when they're extra excited like this.
Left heel, yes.
Now, I want to use a Frisbee as a lure to help Wallace get back into the heel position. And you can see that at first he thinks I want him to do a come around. That's part of our fetch game. You know what? That's okay. Because watch how quickly we're able to clear up that confusion.
This way,
Good,
yes.
good. I like that he continued trying repetition after repetition, and he changed what he did. He didn't get mad at the dog. He didn't say, "No, dog, no, that's not what I want." He didn't correct the dog. He simply just changed what he did, and he's patient to do so. It doesn't take that much more patience than anything else to change up what you're doing so your dog can learn the right answer and make the right answer
Wallace
easy.
clearly understands that we're going to use the Frisbee as a reinforcer here. So I'm going to try to fine-tune his movement.
Good. So I would have rewarded there. I would have tossed the Frisbee if, I don't know if Zach saw him, but as he turned into position, he's in the heel position. I would use the Frisbee right there
Luring
to
him with it
reward
isn't
him.
quite as delicate as with the food. So for this session, I'm going to keep the Frisbee out of sight for a
So
second.
he's still standing at
Using
heel.
my own body language
I guess he wants to take a couple of steps before he rewards.
signal or encourage him, and then reward with that thing that he loves so much.
Yes.
The Frisbee.
So he rewarded him after just one step, which is perfect. Perfect timing. You don't want to wait for 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 steps before you reward. You start off very, very slowly.
See how even in this training session, I'm able to reduce the
Yes.
frequency
Good.
of those rewards as he starts to get what we're going for. When I'm looking up at my head, not the Frisbee.
As your dog is really grasping this concept, you can get more.
And that's very important that he looks up at his owner or at the person, not the Frisbee, not the toy, not the lure. You want to go in the window?
See, he's getting a little
Exactly.
wonky over here. So I want to make sure that I encourage
This
him
is
to be a little...
this is why I work at by a wall or something for a period of time until the dog learns to, when you walk away from the wall, your dog is likely to kind of get wonky and kind of start over here a little bit. So then you would just turn around and restart. Maybe try to use some kind of visual cue or slowly walk away from the wall. And if they start to get wonky, you move closer to the wall so that way you can really reinforce them for being at a tight, close heel.
Yes, a little closer like that. There's our first turn. Look at that. Yes. And you can see this is just as good as a treat, if not more to him actually right now. Heel. Yes, I'm starting to say
Very
heel
good.
now as he's being more reliable. Heel. Good. Yes.
Good. Automatic sit.
Just walk forward there to get him into the stand because he's really dialed in right now. He got a little ahead. I didn't say no or correct him. This is what I'm doing instead. Getting him back in position. Waiting for eye contact.
Excellent.
Yes. He's getting smooth at the handoff. Waiting for the eye contact. Yes. I'm really rewarding him back here to try and keep him from getting too ahead of me. So I'm getting him in the habit of looking right there. Yes. Essentially in the middle of my thigh. But really, it's just a bit of a dance with your dog. Good. Whenever you hit a point where one of you is struggling, just make it easier for your dog or yourself. Yes.
Excellent.
Get there. Good. Come on. Easy. Yes.
That's good. That's beautiful
Little
work to
ahead,
me.
but that's pretty.
I mean, I don't care if my dog is perfectly in line with my leg. Like, I'm not going into competition or anything like that. Like, as long as my dog is walking by my side, they don't have to be perfectly ahead of me where their head is by my thigh, or sometimes people want their legs by their thigh. I don't want them necessarily just staring at me the whole time because they could trip. I think this is beautiful.
Pretty good for a first heel training session. Let's talk about a real world application. A heel in the real world is something we use strategically, not as our default. So as
Exactly.
we practice in more populated areas moving forward, I'm going to be asking for that heel periodically. Easy homework is to see if you can get your dog looking at you while they're on one side of you. And if you can get them to do that while moving, good work. Click thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed. Follow us on social, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Check out my book.
So I think he did a really good job there. I definitely like that. He's able to accomplish it, and he's working on this heel outside in distractions. I would have started inside. I don't know that he didn't start inside. He very well could have started inside. But if he did or he didn't, he accomplished what he was looking for, and he didn't have to use a leash to yank or pop him. The leash was just there to keep him within the general vicinity so he didn't run off. I think that this is great. I think he did a great job. I really like it. I'm going to show you a quick little snippet of how I taught my Shiba heel. Okay, so here's my video just showing you how I taught him side, off leash, where he would go back around my side. Now I would probably have him where I would ask for him, if he were on leash or off leash, to move between the wall on this side towards me, behind me, and then come back around by the wall. And I would do that on either side instead of having him go around my body behind me.
You can walk your dog on either side. I think you should practice on both sides, just like with working with a lot of animals. They have two sides, so you should work each of them equally, because that way they don't get sensitive on the other side, or they get nervous, or they're just not comfortable with it. So Wallace is getting a drink of water, and then we will start shortly here. Good boy. That's good man. So first, there's certain ways you can teach your dog to go in and
so he wasn't used to this way, but this is probably the way that I would teach them now.
I really don't care which way if he does that, or if he spins into heel or whatever. That's more of a finishing heel position for competition.
I allow him to walk
I
away.
Spin into heel.
I don't care if he goes and sniffs.
It's easier if they just go back and around. Adonis, good boy. If I just have him go,
He gets a little distracted.
me. Good
Now
man.
without a leash, that's
So you'll
easy.
see that when I work with
Hi,
him,
handsome. I
keep
miss that
my
little man.
hand, I keep the treat in between two fingers here. I keep my hand flat as a visual for him. So if I have my treat here, I take one step, he follows. I mark and reward.
My phone starts
Sorry,
buzzing.
my phone was going off. Again,
I teased him there. He's like,
again,
hey.
take another step. Again, sorry, my phone was going off there. Have my hand, another step, he follows, mark, reward. Now, I'm not saying any verbals here just yet because I want to get the behavior down pat. So again, sorry dude, I dropped that one. Let me get that for you. Good boy. So again, it's just in between these two fingers. You can have it in between like this, whatever you want. The hand is just a visual there. We can do an outside turn where I have my hand here. It's empty now.
And if I were practicing this with a leash, I would have the leash either wrapped around my body or clipped to my belt loop like Zach, so that way the leash is out of the way, but it is still dragging. Or you can still have the leash in one hand. It's hard with the treat, so you can loop it around your hand or have it in the other one. Have the leash in this hand and have your treat in this hand.
Follows it. Then I can mark and reward. And then we can continue again. I have an empty hand here. We take a step.
So he follows that as the visual.
And his goal can
I'm
be
showing you
to
how I'm fading away from the treat in a very quick fashion.
touch the hand just follow it as a
And keep in
visual.
mind, we're working inside, so I practice this behavior inside, and then over time, then I work our way outside.
Good boy. He doesn't have to touch it. He can. I mean, he's licking it. Whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. It's just here as a visual target for him because it keeps him in position. He's not going ahead of me. He's not lagging behind. We'll go up one more time, and then I'll show you what an inside turn would look like, where you're turning into the dog. So I'd be turning into him. A lot of times, personally, if I want them to, good boy.
Good. So he actually handled that very well. I was expecting him to get really confused.
I just move them back behind me. So we'll do that again, where I turn to face him. I kind of turn into him. I can turn this way, and he just kind of circles back behind me. So I kind of...
He got confused because he's used to, when I give him the hand signal, when I move my hand behind me, that he goes to the other side.
So he wanted to go on the left side because he's used to going to the right around me. So if I were to say side...
Good boy.
He's used to doing that, and then we walk on the left-hand side. But just for the sake
and
of
I never actually taught him to walk on the right side at heel because, I just never thought to do it until, he was already like, I think 9 or 10 years old here in this video. But I never thought to teach him to walk on the right-hand side until, later on. So with my next dog, whenever I do have a next dog, I will show you all the process of raising that dog and everything I teach them step by step so you can see the differences I made between my two dogs.
Using this wall and teaching you firsthand with him being on the right-hand side. Good boy, heel.
I didn't expect him to follow, but he did.
So that was an example of using a verbal cue. I don't use this with him a lot, like really ever.
Now with him, he naturally just kind of, after a couple of minutes of walking, his default is just to go into the heel position. Not that I'm asking him to go into the heel position at all. He just does. He just does that where he will naturally, he would naturally just slow down and just walk right by my side. I mean, I have, footage of him where he's on, probably not in this video. Oh, maybe I do. Where he's just dragging his leash. We're walking. And he's right by me. He's a little bit... Okay, there he gets a little bit ahead. But I just correct him a little bit. And he's walking right next to me. He's a little bit ahead, but that to me is fine. That's right next to me. There, he's a little bit slower. I'm holding onto one finger. I don't have to teach him anything. I don't have to do anything. I'm just rewarding him for the sake of him because I'm physically telling him heel. Even though I never use the heel cue when we're just walking regularly. So this is how you can work with them outside. That's just, the difference between how I taught Adonis and how Zach teaches Wallace. But both good boys are good boys. Everybody's a good person. So that's my video here. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think of this video. Go say howdy do to your little critters. Say howdy do for me. Give them some kind of love and they appreciate. And until next time, practice peace, patience, and positivity.